You know, what do you think about that, man? And can Chief Keef come back to
I still talk to him. I still FaceTime.
Everybody want me to talk about it, man. Chief Keef and NBA Youngboy did a song together, man. And people talking about that he ain't loyal to King Von or Durk or none of that. Hey, look, bro.
Yo, the move Chief Keef pulled on his own block is absolutely insane. No cap. This dude really went and linked up with NBA Youngboy, the same cat whose whole crew caught King Von slipping out in Atlanta. And bro, it get way worse than that. O-Block been talking about blacklisting Keef, straight up banning him from the city forever. They saying if he ever step foot back in Chicago, it's gonna be serious problems waiting for him. Let me break down exactly how we even got to this point, because the story hit different when you know the full context of everything that went down between these people. Listen, before I get into all this craziness, you gotta really feel how much this betrayal hurt everybody on the block. We talking about somebody who literally grew up eating, sleeping, and moving with these exact same people every single day of his life. Now he out here kicking it with their biggest enemies. That ain't just disrespectful, that's a whole different level of snake shit. This ain't no regular rap beef either, my guy. This about honor, the street code, and how quick money make people turn their back on where they came from. This about loyalty and what it really means when you make it out. Let me take you through the whole story from jump, because this go way deeper than most people really understand when they watch him from the outside. Back in the day, Chief Keef wasn't no rich rapper with houses and foreign cars everywhere. Nah, young Keef was just another shorty in O-Block watching real killers move around him every single day, doing their thing on them streets. Parkway Gardens is one of them rough Chicago projects where dudes like King Von, Boss Top, and T-Roy was really handling business in them streets, putting in that actual work. Keef was young out the hood, but he had something different about him though. This nigga could rap for real, and he carried that raw energy that only come when you actually live in that life every single day. When he was coming up, he wasn't just talking about street life neither. He was really in it, getting locked up by police, getting caught in actual shootouts, doing the same things everybody around him was doing. His actual roots was deeper off Front Street than O-Block specifically, but all them sets, Front Street, 300, O-Block, they was all the same gang affiliation, and they all moved together as one unified unit. So when people say O-Block, they really mean that whole connected network running together as one force. Then 2012 hit, and I Don't Like dropped, and this nigga went from absolutely nothing to everything overnight. That $6 million deal with Interscope had him completely set for life. But here's the thing that people don't really talk about. Everything happened so fast that Keef ain't even had time to process his own come-up and what was happening to him. One day, he a regular kid in the project struggling with everybody else. Next day, he got millions and the whole world watching his every move. Then he do something crazy that changed everything. The moment that bread hit his account, he packed up all his stuff and dipped straight to LA without looking back. No looking back, barely brought nobody with him from his whole neighborhood. This man only took like 3 people from his whole block. 3 out of everybody who held him down when he was broke and couldn't eat, who kept him safe when things got dangerous and crazy, who made sure he was eating when he ain't had nothing. Only 3 got to come with him on this journey. Think about that for real. Your whole neighborhood got your back through everything, protecting you from ops, making sure you good when you struggling and broke. And the second you blow up and get that opportunity to change everybody's life and bring everybody up with you, you just ghost them all. That's exactly what Keef did. He grabbed his closest ones like Ball Out and Tato, but everybody else stayed stuck in Chicago dealing with the same problems and the same danger they always dealt with. That created mad resentment in the neighborhood because the homies felt like Sosa forgot about them the second he got rich and famous. The people back home started noticing a completely different Chief Keef than the one they knew. This wasn't the same cat who used to share whatever little money he had and look out for everybody no matter what. Now he all on Instagram flexing stacks, buying designer clothes and expensive jewelry, living in big mansions out in California. But his own people still in the trenches, struggling every single day, still in danger from ops, still fighting the same battles they was fighting before he made it big. And yo, that when the money and fame really got to his head and changed who he was. You gotta understand, when you go from having absolutely nothing to having millions of dollars, that change happened quick and it can corrupt you fast. But how you handle that change is what shows your character and who you really are. Some people get rich and bring everybody up with them, using their success to help the whole community. Other people get rich and act brand new like they don't know where they came from or who helped them get there. Sosa chose the second path, and that's the start of everything that followed. He went from being just another old block youth struggling like everybody else to acting like he above his own people and better than them. He started moving different, talking different, carrying himself like he transcended the block that made him who he is. The crazy part? His music was still all about O Block, still claiming his set, still dissing their ops and rival. So he was using his connection to the neighborhood to make money and build his brand and get famous. But when it came time to actually help his people when they needed him most, he was ghost. That fake as hell. And the homies caught on to that real quick. King Von used to bring this up all the time in conversation. He'd talk about how Keef would be posting videos with guns and money, talking about putting work in the hood and hitting ops. But when it actually came down to helping the block and his people, he was nowhere to be found. Von thought that was some coward shit, straight up. You can't be claiming loyalty while refusing to actually show up and be there. Von felt like Keef was all talk and no action when it came to the block. But yo, this the part where the whole beef really got started and things escalated. This some real street politics that most people don't even understand when they looking at it from the outside. So there was this young nigga from O Block named Trey 5 who caught a charge for having a gun on him. His bond was set at $25,000, but you only gotta put up 10% of that to get somebody out of jail. So they needed like $2,500 to get their homie home from lockup. Now that might not sound like a lot to some people who got money, but when you from the projects and you broke and struggling, $2,500 might as well be $25,000. That a whole lot of money when you ain't got nothing and you struggling to survive. So King Von, Boss Top, and all the O Block members, they started doing whatever they could to get that money up together. They was hitting licks on people. They was hustling and selling whatever they could sell. They was doing everything possible to free their boy from jail. They was robbing people, selling whatever they could get their hands on, trying every hustle they knew how to do. But even after all that grinding and taking risks, they still came up short on the total. So they did what anybody would do when they got a rich homie who made it. They called up Chief Keef to see if he would help them out. This man just signed a $6 million deal with Interscope Records. So $2,500 should be absolutely nothing to him, right? That pocket change. They hit him up like, yo, we need you to help us get our brother out. We family. We all from the same block. That's what we do for each other. We been there for you. And you know what Keef kept saying? Yeah, I got y'all. I'ma send that money right now. Just give me a minute. Let me handle some stuff first and I got you. But days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months. And Sosa never sent that money. He kept stalling them, kept making excuses, kept saying he was gonna handle it real soon, but never actually did it. Tay Capone talked about this whole situation, and he broke it down perfectly for everybody. He said Keef had been playing them about this money for so long that they felt like they gave him plenty of time to do the right thing. They felt like their rich homie who had the means to help just wasn't doing it and was playing games with them. So they decided to take matters into their own hands because they felt abandoned. And that when things got real crazy, gang. King, Von, Boss Top, and some other O Block members decided that if Keef wasn't gonna help them willingly, they was gonna take what they needed from him. They felt like since Keef was playing games with them and acting like he too good to help his own people, they had every right to get what they needed from him to help their homie. On March 27th, 2014, they pulled up to Keef's manager's crib in Highland Park, where Sosa was staying at the time. But this wasn't no friendly visit or nothing like that. This was a straight up home invasion, and they meant business. They broke in that house and started grabbing everything they could get their hands on. According to police reports that got leaked to the public later, they got Keef's car. They got mad designer clothes and expensive stuff worth thousands. And Boss Top even went into Keef's daughter's room and took some of her clothes, plus deodorant and detergent like he was robbing a whole house. Bro, you really out here? Stealing a baby's clothes? That's some next level petty shit, and it showed how mad they was in Sosa. But the wildest part? During all this, somebody got shot and ended up in the ICU fighting for their life. Police classified it as a home invasion and attempted murder. They named Boss Top and several other O Block members as suspects in the case. They was facing serious time in prison if they got caught. And you know what Keef did after all this went down? His manager called the police and reported the whole thing. And Sosa got on Twitter calling his own manager soft for calling the cops on his own people. This man was more mad at his manager for snitching than he was at his own homies for robbing him. Then he tweeted, "R.I.P. Boss Top" before deleting it, which people took as either "you dead to me" or maybe he thought he actually killed Boss Top when he was shooting back at him. The whole situation was crazy, and it created a permanent break between Chief Keef and his entire block. From that day on, it was never the same between them. But yo, it get even worse than that. During that whole home invasion situation, Boss Top managed to snatch Keef's chain right off his neck. And this wasn't just any chain, my guy. This was Sosa's signature piece, the one everybody knew him for wearing. This was his pride and joy, his most prized possession. For months, Boss Top kept that chain, and nobody really knew what happened to it or where it went. But then Lil Durk exposed the whole situation in a diss track he dropped. He literally said, "Boss Top got your chain" in the song, and let the whole world know that Chief Keef got robbed by his own people from his own block. That was probably one of the most embarrassing moments in Keef's whole career, no lie. Getting your chain snatched is bad, but getting it snatched by your own homies who you grew up with, and then having another rapper tell everybody about it on a song, that's a whole different level of embarrassment right there. That was humiliation. Boss Top even made a whole music video flexing Keef's stolen chain, taunting him and telling him to come back to O-Block if he want his chain back. He was posting pictures on social media with the chain, basically clowning Sosa and letting everybody know he took his jewelry and he was wearing it. People started calling Boss Top Broke Top and the Diaper Bandit after this whole thing went down, especially when people found out he stole baby clothes too. That really hurt Boss Top's reputation in the rap game and the streets. But he didn't care, because he felt completely justified in what he did. But the funniest part about the whole chain situation? That same chain later got taken from Boss Top by Famous Dex in a separate incident. So the chain went from Keef to Boss Top to Famous Dex. That's some crazy street politics right there. The chain was probably cursed or something, because everybody who had it ended up getting it took from them. That wild. Now King Von, he was one of the main people involved in all this robbery, and he never really stayed quiet about it. Von always felt like Keef was bogus and fake for how he handled the Trey 5 situation and everything that came after. In Von's mind, when you make it out the hood, you're supposed to bring your people with you and lift them up, not leave them behind and forget about them. Von used to talk about how Keef would be on Instagram showing off guns and money, talking about putting hits on the block and dissing ops. But when it came time to actually help his people, he was nowhere. Von thought that was some fake shit. You can't be talking about helping the block and repping O-Block when you won't even bond out your own homie when he needs you most. King Von was all about loyalty, and that was his whole thing. Loyalty to the block, loyalty to his people, loyalty to the street code and the rules. So when he saw Keef violating that code, when he saw him abandoning his own people, Von took that to heart, real deep. He felt like Keef was disrespecting everything they stood for and everything they believed in. And that created a permanent split between Keef and O-Block that could never be repaired. From that point on, you either roll with Sosa or you roll with the block. And most people chose the block because they felt like Keef violated the street code by not looking out for his own people. Von would always say that Keef was selfish, that he only cared about himself and his own success. And when you look at how everything played out, it's hard to argue with that assessment. Keef had the power to help his people, but he chose not to. And that choice cost him his whole relationship with the block forever. Now y'all gotta understand, all this wasn't happening in a vacuum by itself. This was during the peak of the Chicago drill scene, when all these different sets was beefing with each other and the violence was out of control. You had O-Block beefing with FBG, you had 300 beefing with 051. You had all these different conflicts popping off at the same time, and Chief Keef's music was fueling a lot of that violence. Songs like I Don't Like and Love Sosa was dissing dead ops from rival sets, which was making the beef even hotter. So Keef was making money off the violence, but he wasn't around to deal with the consequences of his actions. The homies back in Chicago was dealing with the retaliation, getting shot at by ops, losing friends and family members. But Keef was safe in LA, making millions off music that was putting his own people in danger. That's another reason why the block had bad feelings about him. He was using their pain, their struggles, their losses to make money and get famous, but he wasn't giving nothing back to help them deal with what his music was causing. Fast forward to November 6, 2020, when King Von got killed in Atlanta. And yo, This the part where everything get more complicated and where Chief Keef really showed his true colors and what he was really about. Von got caught by Lil Tim, who was running with NBA Youngboy's crew during that whole situation outside the hookah bar. That when everything changed. Soon as Von got killed, everybody who was close to him, Lil Durk, the whole crew, all of O Block, anybody who really loved Von, they all cut ties with NBA Youngboy immediately to show respect to Von's memory. That became the unwritten rule that everybody followed. If you was really Von's people, you didn't mess with NBA Youngboy or nobody connected to him. Point blank, period. That's just how street loyalty work and always has worked. When your brother get killed by somebody's organization, you don't turn around and link up with them later. You don't make music with them. You don't associate with them at all. You don't give them no love or respect. That's the basic street code that everybody understand and follow. Lil Durk took it the most serious out of everybody. He completely cut off any chance of working with Youngboy, even though they could have made mad money together and had hits. He chose loyalty over bread, which what you supposed to do when you really love somebody. But Chief Keef, this man ain't care about none of that. He already wasn't messing with O Block, and he definitely ain't have no love for King Von after all the drama they been through. So in Keef's mind, he didn't owe Von's memory nothing. He felt like since Von was part of the crew that robbed him, since Von always talked crazy about him and disrespected him, he didn't have to show him no respect or loyalty. And yo, it get even more disrespectful than that. Keef started linking with Kayla B, who King Von's sister, and you could tell Shorty was really feeling Sosa and catching feelings for him. They was posting pictures together on social media. She was showing him mad love on the gram, and it was clear she was developing romantic feelings for him. Now think about how wild this is. You got Von's own sister out here with the same cat her brother had beef with. That's the ultimate disrespect to Von's memory and everything he stood for. And O Block members was not having it at all. They was upset about it. Kayla was supposed to be loyal to her brother's memory and his name. But instead, she out here with Keef, the same man who ghosted the block and wouldn't help when they needed him most. The same man her brother thought was a snake and fake. This hurt a lot of people who was close to Von because they felt like his own sister was betraying his memory. They thought she should have known better, should have stayed down with her brother instead of getting with somebody he had problems with. But at the same time, you gotta understand Kayla's position too. She probably thought Keef was successful and rich and could take care of her in ways other people couldn't. And maybe she didn't fully get all the street politics and beef between Keef and her brother. Still, from the outside looking in, it looked like a major violation of family loyalty. And it made the whole situation between Keef and O Block worse because now it wasn't just about the old beef. Now it was about him disrespecting Von's memory through his own sister. But wait, it get even worse than that. NBA Youngboy went on interviews and said Chief Keef was his favorite rapper growing up. This the same cat whose crew killed King Von, and he out here saying Sosa inspired him and shaped his whole style. Youngboy talked about how he used to listen to Keef's music when he was coming up as a young nigga. How songs like I Don't Like and Love Sosa motivated him to start rapping. He said Keef was one of the main reasons he got into drill music and started making that aggressive type of music he known for. So what Keef do when he hear this? Instead of staying distant out of respect for the Von situation, instead of keeping it neutral and staying out of it, this man decides to link up with Youngboy in the studio. Think about how disrespectful that is, gang. You got Keef from the same block as Von, linking with the favorite rapper of the crew that killed Von. That like spitting on Von's grave for real. That like saying Von's life didn't matter. Like his death mean nothing. They made a whole song called Tony Montana Flow and just dropped it like nothing happened. They was in the studio laughing, having a good time making music while Von's people was still mourning his death. And when that song dropped, O Block members went crazy. They was posting on the gram talking about how Keef violated, how he a snake, how he can never come back to Chicago. They felt like that was the ultimate betrayal, the final straw that proved Keef don't care about nobody but himself. And yo, O Block ain't playing about this situation at all. They've been posting on social media saying if Keef ever comes back to Chicago, it's gonna be serious problems waiting for him. They talking about how he banned from the block, how he can't never show his face around there again without something bad happening. Some of the O Block niggas even said, if you think Sosa raw, you need to get slapped. They in his comments laughing and talking crazy, letting them know exactly how they feel about this whole thing. They posting pictures of guns, making threats, basically letting him know if he come back to Chicago, they gonna handle him real bad. And when Keef posted about wanting to buy O-Block, they responded saying, "You wish you could even come back here." That's how deep this beef go right now. They don't even want his money. They just want him to stay away completely and never come back. The crazy part is, some of these same niggas used to be his actual friends. They used to hang out together, make music together, have each other's backs. But now they talking about killing him if he come back to the city. That's how serious this betrayal is to them. They feel like Keef violated every rule of loyalty and respect. They feel like he chose money over family, fame over friendship, and success over loyalty. And in their minds, that make him an enemy, not just somebody they don't mess with no more. So now, Keef basically exiled from his own city forever. He can't come back to Chicago without it being serious consequences for him. The same block that raised him, the same people who had his back when he was nothing, they now consider him their biggest opponent. And all this could have been avoided if Sosa just helped bond out Trey 5 in the beginning. We talking about $2,500, pocket change for somebody with millions. But his pride and his selfishness cost him his whole connection with his people. The crazy part is, Keef probably don't even care at this point. He made so much money. He been away from Chicago for so long that he probably feel like he don't need them no more. He got his own crew, his own bread, his own success. So why should he care what his old block think about him? But that's exactly the problem. That mentality is what got him in this situation in the first place. When you forget where you come from, when you act like you don't need the people who help make you who you is, that's when you end up isolated and alone with nothing. Now he out here making music with NBA Youngboy, disrespecting Von's memory and acting like he don't care about no consequences. But the streets don't forget, and O-Block definitely ain't forgetting this kind of disrespect. But yo, this situation bigger than just Keef and O-Block. This about what happens when success change people, when money make you forget your values, when fame make you think you better than everybody else. The sad part is, it didn't have to be like this at all. Keef could have been a hero to his block, could have been somebody they looked up to and respected forever. Instead, he became a cautionary tale about how success can corrupt people and make them forget their values and where they come from. And that's the crazy story of how Keef went from O-Block hero to O-Block's biggest op. This man really chose NBA Youngboy over his own people, chose money over loyalty, and chose fame over family. He went from being the pride of his block to being somebody they want to see fall and fail. The wildest part is, all this started over $2,500. If Keef just helped bond out Trey 5 when they first asked, none of this would have happened. King Von probably still be alive today. Keef would probably still be welcome in Chicago, and the whole drill scene might be different today. But instead, his selfishness and pride cost him everything. Now he making music with the crew that killed his old friend, dating his old friend's sister, and acting like none of it mattered. That's some cold-blooded shit right there, no cap. But yo, if you learned something from this whole situation, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what y'all think about Keef's moves. Was he wrong for linking with Youngboy? Or do y'all think he don't owe O-Block nothing after they robbed him? Do y'all think he should have helped bond out Trey 5? Or was he right to keep his money? And if you want more content breaking down Chicago street politics and rap beef, make sure you subscribe because I got way more stories like this coming. The streets got a long memory and these beefs run deeper than y'all think. I got stories about Lil Durk and Youngboy, stories about FBG, Duck, and O-Block, stories about all the wild politics going on in Chicago. I'll catch y'all in the next one. And remember, loyalty over everything. But some people just don't understand that when you make it out, you're supposed to bring your people with you, not leave them behind.
Y'all want to put YB in this. YB a good artist. We ain't against YB, he a good artist. He may have some issues, but he a good artist. But everybody know, you hoes with them folks. You did that.
Ain't nothing colder than your baby mama smashing your fake op because you and NBA Youngboy ain't ops. You was actually idolizing that man.
NLE Choppa is going head-to-head with NBA Youngboy, one of the most notorious figures in the game. Youngboy even took it too far by flying out NLE Choppa's baby mama and kid out to his crib. What started as typical rap beef and online back and forth quickly spiraled into something deeply personal, resulting in one of hip-hop's most audacious and disrespectful plays. We've got the receipts, Video clips, live stream recordings, and direct statements from all parties caught up in this chaotic mess. The real story of how this conflict evolved from standard industry drama into an intimate revenge saga is far more deliberate and savage than most people realize. We're discussing blocked contacts, kids being used as pawns, interstate travel arrangements, and vindictive schemes straight out of a primetime drama series. Every piece of this puzzle is about to be laid out. We're diving into some genuine street-level controversy that's been shaking the hip-hop world and proving why choosing the right co-parent matters more than ever. This whole situation got everything you could think of. Backstabbing, payback, family issues, and damage that's gonna mess up innocent kids for years. If you ain't been paying attention, NLE Choppa and NBA Youngboy been going at each other for a while now. We talking about two of the hottest young dudes in rap right now. Both from down south, both got that street background, and both got egos that's bigger than their paychecks. This whole thing kicked off over some industry beef and territory issues, but then it jumped to a completely different level, straight personal. Now look, in hip-hop, we all know beefing is just part of the game. Rappers throw shots at each other, fans pick their side, and most of the time it stays in the music. But what happened with Choppa was different, because it started messing with his personal business, his family, and most importantly, his kids. Things really heated up when Choppa started making certain moves that Youngboy's people wasn't feeling. You could watch the beef building up in their songs. Hidden shots, indirect mentions, that energy that lets you know something's coming without actually saying names. Both these artists got fan bases that's ready to ride for any disrespect they see. Now let's get into this baby mama drama, because knowing the background is key to understanding why everything got so out of hand. NLE Choppa was still young as hell when he got with this chick. We talking about a 19-year-old dealing with a woman who was 26 to 27 years old and already had way more experience with life. His own moms called this out later on live, talking about how this woman was trying to get a 19-year-old to wife her up when she was pushing 30. That's a major red flag right there. When you got that big of an age gap and different levels of maturity, the power dynamic gets all twisted. Not too long ago, this baby mama decided to hop on social media and start talking crazy. She was tweeting about Choppa, then came out with one of the most disrespectful things you could say. But before she dropped that bombshell, she was already playing games, posting throwback pictures, making indirect posts, doing all that toxic stuff people do when they fishing for attention. Then she really went too far. This woman got online and said her son, who's also NLE Choppa's son, thinks NBA Youngboy is his daddy. She said her kid calls Youngboy daddy instead of his real pops. Let that sit with you for a second. She basically said her own kid got brainwashed into thinking his father's enemy is his father. For anybody who might not get how deep this cuts, let me put you on game. In our culture, having your kid call another man daddy, especially your op, is the ultimate level of disrespect. This is the type of mess that starts real beef in the streets. This is how people end up getting seriously hurt over pride and disrespect. But here's what's really messed up about all. She's using her own kid as a weapon. This baby ain't asked to be in this mess, but his mama is manipulating him just to hurt his father. That's straight psychological warfare, and the kid's gonna be the one suffering from it later. But yo, it gets even worse. Come to find out, this woman ain't just blocked Choppa from talking to his son, she blocked his whole family. We talking about blocking his mother, blocking his grandmother, an 81-year-old woman who just trying to see her great-grandbaby. Think about that for a second. An 81-year-old grandma who probably helped raise Choppa and loves that baby to death can't even call to check on her great-grandchild because this woman blocked her number. That ain't just petty, that's straight cruel. So while this baby mama on social media crying about how Choppa don't call his son, don't spend time with him, don't care about him, she's the one stopping any contact from happening. She's creating the exact situation she's complaining about, then using it to make Choppa look like a deadbeat dad. This type of parental alienation is real, and it does damage. When you turn a kid against their parent, when you block all communication, when you replace the parent with somebody else, especially an enemy, you messing with that child's head. This shows a pattern of manipulative behavior that goes way past just being mad at your baby daddy. This is calculated mind games designed to cause maximum damage to Choppa's relationship with his son and make him look bad as a father. Now imagine being in Choppa's shoes. You a young father trying to be there for your kid, but your baby mama done blocked you and your whole family. Then she gets on social media lying about the whole situation, making you look like you don't care about your own son. That's enough to make anybody lose it. So when she posted that video talking about how their son thinks Youngboy is his daddy, Choppa hit his breaking point. He commented under that video, and what? He said shocked everybody. He wrote, "Cracker for me, slime." And for those who don't know street talk, that basically means go ahead and get with her, since she was begging for attention. Now some people might think that comment was out of pocket, but let me break down what was really happening mentally. Choppa was hurt, mad, and feeling like he had no control. His baby mama was using his own kid against him, and he couldn't do nothing about it legally or otherwise. So he did the one thing he could do. He gave his enemy the green light to use her the same way she was using their child. Real talk, that comment right there shows you how hurt and angry Choppa was. But it also shows how smart he is. He knew exactly what would go down if he put that out there. He knew Youngboy would see it. He knew his baby mama would see it. And he knew it would start a chain reaction that would expose her for what she really is. And NBA Youngboy, he took that invitation and ran with it. According to multiple sources, including statements from his own crew, Youngboy hit up Choppa's baby mama, flew her and the baby out to Utah, and did exactly what Choppa said. He cracked her. We talking about Youngboy flying this woman and her kid, Choppa's kid, all the way across the country to his spot. That ain't just getting with somebody. That's making a statement. That's showing the world he can take whatever he wants from his enemy, including his baby mama. But here's the real thing though. This wasn't just about cracking somebody. This was about power, control, and sending a message. Youngboy knew that getting with his enemy's baby mama would be the ultimate disrespect, and he did it anyway. He knew it would hurt Choppa, hurt the family, and create even more drama. After it went down, the streets started buzzing. Baby Joe, one of Youngboy's people, got on live and basically confirmed everything. He talked about how he knew the woman from back when she was doing Wild 'N Out, and how the whole thing happened in Atlanta and Utah. When NLE Choppa's mom found out what happened, she went all the way off. And I mean off. This woman who raised Choppa, who loved that grandbaby, who been blocked from seeing her own great-grandchild, she had enough. Mama Choppa got on live and went in on that baby mama like never before. She didn't hold nothing back. She didn't try to be nice about it. She didn't care about looking good for the cameras. She spoke straight from the heart as a hurt grandmother and mother. Mama Choppa said, and I quote, "Everybody know what you got going on. You think we don't know? You think that man gonna get on live and not say what really happened? Everybody know that you was messing with them folks. You did that. You think we don't know?" She basically called out the baby mama for getting with Youngboy, and she said it with her whole chest. She was speaking with the confidence of somebody who got receipts and ain't scared to pull them out. But the most heartbreaking part was when Mama Choppa revealed the truth about the whole blocking situation. She said, "How the hell you gonna call him when y'all got him on block? Y'all blocked me. Y'all blocked my mama who's 81 years old. My mama shouldn't be worried about whether she can see her great-grandchildren or not." She talked about how much the 81-year-old grandmother loved that baby and how messed up it was to keep them apart. This is when the real truth came out. The baby mama wasn't just being petty on social media. She was actively stopping Choppa from seeing his own son. She had him all blocked, then had the nerve to get online acting like Choppa wasn't trying to be in his child's life. Mama Choppa also called out the age difference, saying, "He's 19 and you're 26 years old. You done lived your life. You done seen the world. He ain't seen nothing. But you want him to marry you at 19? You crazy. You're a Looney Tune." She exposed that this woman was pressuring a 19-year-old to marry her when she was almost 30. That explains a lot about the power dynamic in this relationship and why things got so toxic when he said no. When you get with your op's baby mama, especially after he basically tells you to do it out of anger, you crossing lines that got real consequences. In the streets, this kind of disrespect can get people hurt bad. We ain't talking about regular relationship problems. We talking about violating somebody's family, their bloodline, their whole legacy. That's the type of stuff that starts real wars. But the real victim in all this? That innocent kid. This baby gonna grow up knowing his mama got with his father's enemy, that she used him like a pawn, that she kept him away from his daddy's family. That's the kind of trauma that sticks with you forever. This whole mess shows how toxic relationships can blow up and hurt everybody around them. When grown folks can't handle their feelings like adults, kids end up being collateral damage in their beef. Social media made everything 10 times worse. Instead of keeping this behind closed doors, everybody involved put their business out there for the whole world to watch. That kid gonna grow up with all this drama recorded on the internet forever. This whole thing should be a lesson in spotting red flags early. Age gaps, manipulation, using kids as weapons, blocking family members. These are all warning signs of toxic behavior you gotta run from ASAP. When you picking somebody to have kids with, you ain't just picking somebody to date. You picking a co-parent for life. You picking somebody who's gonna have access to your child, influence over your child, and the power to make your life either good or terrible. From a legal perspective, parental alienation is real, and courts take that stuff seriously. When you block a parent from seeing their kid without a good reason, when you turn a child against their parent, you can face some serious legal problem. The damage from this situation
ain't just gonna affect Chopper and his baby mama. It's gonna affect that child for his whole life. When he grows up and realizes what really happened, how his mama used him as a weapon, how she kept him from his father's family, that's gonna mess with his mental.
To a lot of youth in different cities that you stopped at, what's your take, because I think you've been early on this, on, 21 Savage had the streets movement that he kind of has been promoting these last...
Like that, the street.
Stop saying my motherfucking name. Don't think, because I'm trying to change.
So you just witnessed 21 Savage clapping back after NBA Youngboy called him out. Real talk, this drama ain't looking like it's wrapping up anytime soon. We're gonna break down the full timeline of this conflict and show you why the heat keeps intensifying, potentially to a point where real danger could pop off. What's actually going down? I'm about to lay it all out for you because there's multiple layers to this whole thing. To really get how we ended up here, let's roll it back some. 21 Savage has been championing his anti-street lifestyle campaign for a good while now, understand? He's been pulling up to various cities, talking to the youth, pushing them to step away from gang culture. From a surface level, that sounds like a W. Can't nobody really criticize someone for wanting to protect lives and whatnot. But here's where it gets messy. When your roots are where 21's roots are, East Atlanta Zone 6, genuine street credentials, and you flip around preaching to others about leaving that world, people are bound to catch feelings. It raises the question, who gave you the green light to dictate how another man should move? You catching my drift? Now 21, he's genuinely walked that path for real. This ain't cap. Man took 6 bullets on his 21st birthday and his homie lost his life. That's genuinely how the name 21 Savage came to be. It ain't just a catchy stage name. It's in memory of his fallen friend. So when he preaches about ditching the street life, he's speaking from lived trauma. He's seen too much pain, buried too many loved ones, and now he's working to break that pattern. Let me provide more context about where 21's mindset truly stems from. Way back in 2013, when he was still fully immersed in street activity, he lost his brother Quantavious to gunfire. Following that, he lost his boy Larry to that same world. These weren't just associates, these were his day ones, people he grew up alongside, individuals he loved like family. Experiencing that type of grief repeatedly, it changes your entire worldview permanently. 21's been open about how his early music glorified the streets. Tracks like No Heart and X represented that world without any filter whatsoever. But with age, financial success, and continuous loss, he started seeing things differently. He understood he carried responsibility, particularly toward young fans who looked up to him. The F the Streets campaign didn't just materialize overnight, it's been building gradually over recent years. Things really accelerated when 21 ramped up his community involvement in Atlanta. He launched the 21 Savage Bank Account Initiative, teaching hood kids about money management. After that came the Leading by Example Foundation, dedicated to helping youth from struggling communities. What really amplified everything was his decision to speak openly about it through media and social platforms. He stopped keeping the work low-key. He started openly advising young people against the gang lifestyle. Back home in Atlanta where 21's rooted, most people received it positively because they watched his evolution firsthand. They recognize he actually lived through it, so they honor his right to address it. But when he took this campaign to different regions, Chicago, Louisiana, California, reactions got mixed. Some appreciated it. Veterans who survived the streets and lost everything got what he was attempting. But younger cats, the ones still caught up in it, took it as him invalidating their reality, like he was suggesting their experiences don't count or their struggles aren't real. For context, NBA Youngboy and 21 actually had history before this mess popped off. They were cordial, showed appreciation for each other's art, zero issues.
Around 2019 and 2020, you'd see them exchanging respect on social platforms. No conflict, no problems. They were two massive artists in their own lanes, moving separately, but with shared respect. But there's another angle you gotta consider. During the whole Lil Durk and NBA Youngboy conflict, 21 got caught publicly supporting Durk's camp. That planted seeds of tension in the background, even without them beefing directly. Let me quickly explain that drama, because it's key to understanding our current situation. The Durk versus YB situation is among the most serious conflicts in hip-hop currently. This transcends just music. Real lives got taken in this, King Von and Quando Rondo's cousin included.
Rapper King Von and his group were at Opium nightclub before making their way here to Monaco Hookah Lounge, then to the parking lot where chaos ensued.
With 21 being Atlanta-based and tight with Durk, he was caught in an awkward position. Now, 21 never straight up disrespected YB or jumped in publicly, but certain moves, getting spotted at events with Durk, social media interactions, could have been read by YB's circle as picking sides, regardless of 21's intentions. So tension was already simmering underneath. Then 21 launches this F the Streets campaign. To someone like YB who's still deeply embedded in all that chaos, it likely seemed contradictory. Like, hold up, you were just riding for one side of a street war, now you preaching against the streets? Let's examine NBA Youngboy's position, because understanding both angles matters. YB's 25 and has endured more trauma than most experience in a full lifetime. He's survived shootings, stabbings, multiple arrests, lost friends, been battling court cases for years. For him, the streets aren't something he can just walk away from on demand. He's still dealing with active threats, people actively trying to hurt him. Plus, he's got allegiance to his crew still in dangerous situations. When that's your reality, hearing someone say F the streets can feel like they're minimizing what you're facing. It's like, easy for you to preach when you're already out and don't face what I'm facing. Plus, YB's never been one to modify his stance or chase political correctness. He's consistently kept it authentic about his position and what he stands for. That authenticity is why his fan base rides so hard for him. He keeps it unfiltered. So when YB gets questioned about 21's F the Streets campaign in this latest interview, you can sense he already had opinions brewing. The interviewer mentions it, discussing how 21's been pushing this message toward the youth. And YB, man, he let it rip. I don't give a F about that, YB stated bluntly. I am the streets. I love the streets. I come from the streets. I ain't on all that BS. Yo, hearing that initially, I was stunned, because that goes beyond simple disagreement. That's attacking 21's integrity head on. He essentially labeled the entire campaign BS. That's crossing into personal territory. But YB wasn't finished. He continued, claiming people are misunderstanding the actual message. He's saying it's not about refusing to defend yourself, but simultaneously making crystal clear he disagrees with 21's promotion. Then he dropped this line that really ignited everything. That's the narrative somebody pushing right now, and I'm pushing my narrative. Translation: forget what 21's saying. I'm on my own path. How YB delivered it, with that stress on my narrative, signaled to everyone this wasn't merely casual disagreement. This was him establishing a boundary, declaring he's fundamentally against what 21's advocating. When that interview hit, the internet exploded. People instantly picked sides. Some said YB's dropping truth. You can't dictate how others should live. Others defended 21, saying, nah, he's just trying to preserve lives. What's problematic about that? Twitter erupted. YB supporters claimed 21 was performatively woke and only pushing positivity for optics. 21 supporters argued YB was glorifying violence and toxicity. Things got nasty quick, like these situations inevitably do. But what really captured everyone's focus? The timing. Because right when people assumed it couldn't get more complicated, 21 Savage chose to fire back. This is where attention to detail matters, because 21's response wasn't explicitly aimed at YB, but people understood. Let me set the scene. 21 jumped on social media visibly upset. Man was genuinely bothered and started venting about people mentioning his name and discussing the streets. Technically, he was addressing Fabio Foreign, who'd been throwing shots. But the timing following YB's remarks? Come on, everyone knows what's up. See, Fabio had previously commented on 21, questioning his street authenticity and credibility. But that was relatively mild next to YB's statements. So when 21 dropped this response, people instantly drew connections. 21 came out swinging. Stop saying my name. Don't think because a man's trying to change. Y'all sit down somewhere, man. Straight up. The frustration was audible. This is someone genuinely attempting something constructive and catching criticism from every direction. Then, he really dove in. This is where you could recognize he was addressing multiple people. He said, if you walking around with a 38, don't say nothing to him about the streets. If you 35 or older and been trying to rap since you was a teenager, don't talk to him about the streets. That section could potentially reference Fabio. But then 21 dropped something that grabbed everyone's attention. Y'all keep talking about all this BS. Street this, savage that. Savage shot one of y'all in real life. Y'all know this. Stop playing. Yo, that's him reminding everyone. Don't misunderstand just because he's promoting positivity now. 21 genuinely put in work, and he wants that remembered before anyone gets too comfortable disrespecting him. Then 21 intensified it further. Don't think because Savage on some positive stuff that it's, oh, let's talk about Savage every day. Let's talk about Savage all day. Nah, this ain't that. Y'all still get messed up. Straight up. That's an explicit warning. He's declaring, just because I'm working on self-improvement doesn't equal weakness. Doesn't mean you can continuously provoke me without repercussion. But what really struck me? 21 dug deeper into his reasoning behind all this. He said something that called out numerous rappers discussing street life. Y'all ain't seen enough in the street to even feel how I feel about the street. That's where the disconnect comes in. I don't give a F about what your partners did. I don't give a F about what your hood did. I'm talking to y'all. Y'all as individuals. Y'all ain't did nothing in the street. That hits different because 21's essentially saying many dudes preaching about street activity haven't genuinely experienced it personally. They're adjacent to it or know people involved, but they individually haven't lived through it. And lacking that experience, they can't comprehend why he's pushing people away from it. This is an essential distinction many overlook. Being from the streets differs from being active in the streets. Knowing people who participated differs from participating yourself. And 21's highlighting that distinction. He continued, y'all ain't cried enough. Y'all ain't lost enough. Straight up, man. The anguish in that statement was palpable. That's someone who's genuinely buried loved ones, actually mourned real friends, telling others they lack the authority to critique his action. Then he delivered the reality check. Y'all better stick to rapping, man. Essentially saying, y'all can't handle the discussion y'all attempting with me. Y'all should remain in y'all lane and focus on music, because regarding authentic street dynamics and that lifestyle's weight, y'all lack qualification. And here's where it intensifies. 21 started addressing people claiming street credibility but haven't been visible in 30 years. People acting tough on Area 59, which means y'all operating from safe distances, not actually active anymore. Y'all be gangsters on Area 59, man. Remote location. Haven't seen y'all in 30 years. That's him exposing internet tough guys. People talking aggressive from safety, but aren't genuinely active in their neighborhoods currently. Let me explain something else crucial to this situation. When 21 questions how can you tell somebody from a whole other state what they are, you don't even know. He's addressing something legitimate. Hip-hop's always had this issue where people from different cities try dictating to others how to operate, and it never ends well. 21 represents Atlanta. YB represents Baton Rouge. These are completely distinct environments with separate gang dynamics, different codes, different everything. Simultaneously, though, violence remains violence, death remains death, suffering remains suffering. That's universal. So 21 could argue his message crosses geographical boundaries. We need to step back and examine what this conflict represents for hip-hop culture broadly. This transcends two artists disagreeing. This represents fundamental tension in hip-hop between maintaining authenticity and personal growth. Hip-hop has consistently prioritized authenticity above nearly everything. So when someone like 21 Savage, who established his career as one of the most legitimate street rappers, begins promoting messaging that appears contradictory to that image, it creates confusion for some people. They're questioning, is he still authentic? Is this publicity? Is he contradictory? Or is he genuinely attempting evolution and helping others? Conversely, you have artists like YB who won't modify their messaging or soften their presentation regardless of wealth or fame levels. And there's authenticity in that approach too. Let's confront the obvious question though. Is 21 Savage contradictory? Some observers note he still creates street-oriented music occasionally. He still references violence in certain tracks. He still maintains connections with people active in street life. He supported one side in the Durk versus YB conflict, which is street beef. So how can he pivot and say F the streets? 21 confronted
This during his rant. I'm trying to change my life. I'm trying to save the streets. I'm trying to stop all this crazy stuff that be going on. This stuff is unnecessary. I'm trying to be a part of the solution. The critical word is trying. He's not claiming perfection or complete separation from street culture. He's stating he's attempting transformation. He's working toward improvement, and that reflects reality. Transformation isn't instantaneous, but not everyone will interpret it that way. Some demand clear separation. Either you're street or you're not. Choose one. They reject ambiguity. Here's what's wild about all this though. While 21 and YB exchange words, while supporters choose sides and argue online, young people in disadvantaged areas continue dying daily. That reality gets overlooked in all this. 21's messaging, regardless of opinions about him personally, fundamentally concerns preserving lives. It's about offering young people alternatives to a lifestyle that statistically ends in incarceration or death. So when 21 says F the streets, he's rejecting a system that channels young black and brown youth into cycles of violence, imprisonment, and premature death. But YB and others sharing his perspective have valid points too. It's simple to say F the streets after achieving success. When you've accumulated millions, can relocate family to safety, have security personnel, have choices. What about youth still trapped there? What about people without escape routes currently? For them, the streets might not represent choice. It might represent survival. That's YB's meaning when he declares, I am the streets. I love the streets. He's not celebrating violence. He's expressing love for his origins. He loves his people still there, and he won't pretend superiority just because he achieved fame. What's frustrating about this entire situation is middle ground should exist, but neither party seems interested in finding it. 21 could recognize his messaging might seem condescending to people currently facing that reality. While maintaining violence reduction deserves pursuit, YB could recognize that despite pride in his origins, the violence cycle can't continue indefinitely, and breaking it has merit. That complexity disappears. There's zero room for nuance, zero space for respecting both viewpoints. So what's next? Currently, we're stuck waiting. 21 made his statement, YB made his statement, and everyone's anticipating whether this intensifies or deflates. The risk is this evolving beyond rhetoric. Hip-hop history shows repeatedly where verbal disputes transform into actual violence. And that would be peak irony. A conflict initiated over 21 attempting to decrease street violence, resulting in additional street violence. But there's possibility this simply disappears. Neither really benefits from escalation. They've both accumulated excessive wealth, excessive stakes. Reality is hip-hop requires both perspectives. We need people like 21 willing to stand firm and declare, we must improve. But we also need people like YB who won't sanitize the reality of ongoing struggles. The issue emerges when these perspectives become adversarial rather than complementary, when it transforms into conflict rather than conversation. And that captures hip-hop's current state. We can't even reach consensus on whether advising people against killing each other is positive. That demonstrates how deeply ingrained this street culture runs. But I'll state this. 21 Savage defended his position and clarified he won't retreat from his message regardless of opposition. Simultaneously, NBA Youngboy clarified he won't compromise for anyone and will continue representing the streets his way. Time will reveal whether this conflict intensifies or they discover coexistence despite different philosophies. But one certainty, the dialogue is happening currently, and that matters, regardless of opinions on 21's methodology. Ultimately, both are communicating their authentic experiences. 21's communicating from someone who escaped and wants preventing others from enduring his experiences. YB's communicating from someone currently navigating these streets. Perhaps rather than debating correctness, we should explore extracting value from both perspectives to create actual change. How can we respect our origins while simultaneously pursuing better futures? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is 21 correct pushing the F the Streets campaign? Or is YB correct that you can't dictate another person's path? Think this conflict will intensify, or will they resolve it? Share your perspectives below. Smash that like button and subscribe, because obviously we're documenting all hip-hop developments as they unfold. This situation is nowhere near finished. Believe that.